This is a Garmin Fenix 7X. It is, in my opinion, the best sports watch you can buy today. Looks awesome. It will track you doing anything from jogging around the block to running an ultramarathon. A Fenix has been with me across deserts, over mountains, and throughout my fitness journey. It's quite simply unbeatable. I never wear it anymore. I wear this. It's got a picture of my dog on it. I got the Apple Ultra Watch on the day it was launched with one plan: review it, confirm it was still miles behind the Garmin, and then send it back. So why is it not only still with me, but now the only watch I wear? Well, I'll tell you, but first, this is not some high-tech assessment of this thing's abilities. I'm not going to stick it in the freezer and test it at low temperature. I don't care whether it works at extreme altitude. Although I did listen to Bruce with it on an EasyJet flight last week and that seemed okay. No, this is just why I'm happy with it on my wrist. And that, for any watch, is about more than specs and data. It's about feel. So a very simple video. First, a few things that I didn't like that I'm now okay with, and then a few things that I always did think might be quite cool, and now I've had it a while, I'm not sure I'd want to be without them. Looks. Let's start with the obvious. This has a certain look to it. When I spot one of these on somebody's wrist, I just think athlete. Do they do a park run once a month? It doesn't matter. They're an athlete wearing that. But I see this. I mean, if they're young, I assume they probably spend a lot of time in coffee shops uploading Instagram reels and eating avocados and thinking about coding.
It's not a coincidence.
I have no idea what coding is. And if they're old, I assume they probably don't know how to do anything with it other than tell the time and count the number of steps in their day. Either way, I never think athlete. And that opinion hasn't really changed. I've ditched the boring Apple strap on it and now have some slightly more sporty looking Velcro straps. And I picked a watch face with slightly more muted colours than standard, but it is still geeky. When I saw pictures of me with a Fenix on, I would think, that looks good. When I see this, I just think, I wonder if they took a photograph from a different angle. I suppose the best way to describe it, I've gone from wearing this and enjoying how it looked to wearing this and not really minding too much how it looks. Rugged. This is tough in two different ways. First of all, it is literally tough. You can smack this about, and I've worn it in situations where that's happened, and it'll probably come out fine. It's also hard to damage in a way that would matter anyway. It has picked up a couple of little knocks and scratches on the bezel. It just looks tougher as a result. Some things are just like that.
It's not a coincidence.
This is not like that. On something with such a simplistic design, any damage is going to make it look very tatty very quick. I didn't have much faith in the materials being able to withstand much at all. But so far I've been wrong. I haven't climbed mountains with it recently, but I've dropped it on the floor a couple of times. I've worn it pretty much 24/7, even played with the dog wearing it. And it is still looking new. So while I can't confirm that it would look better bashed up, I can confirm it's pretty hard to make it look bashed up in the first place. Battery life. Okay, everyone's favourite thing to throw at Apple when they're comparing the Ultra Watch to any other rechargeable device, let alone a Fenix that will last for weeks on one charge. And it is true, you're going to need to adjust your perception of what is acceptable when it comes to batteries. But I think I may have done that. First of all, I made sure that charging it is easy. I've got a charger here on my desk and one on my bedside table, and I've just got into the routine of topping it up every now and then. If I'm going to be sat here editing a video for a few hours, I just stick it on charge. If I'm jumping in the shower, I stick it on charge. So it never really gets to a point where it's getting low enough to even have to flash up and warn me that it needs juice. Basically, I treat it the same as my mobile phone. Now that's day-to-day use. Obviously the big one is how annoying is the battery when using it for tracking events. And I would say it's mildly annoying. As an example, last weekend I travelled to Tenerife, competed in 3 Spartan events. Had I done that with the Fenix, I would have checked the day before I flew, seen it probably had a couple of weeks battery to go, and just gone. With the Apple Ultra, I had to pack the charger, I had to make sure it was charged for an hour or so in the morning of the race, and then it lasted fine tracking those 3 events that didn't add up to much more than a couple of hours timing in total. So no huge drama, but no huge challenge for it either. Where I'd be less confident is if I was using it to track an event that actually took a very long time, but I'll come on to that in a bit. It's not a sports watch. Well, that is what I thought on day one. I would now describe it as not a great sports watch. Now, on the one hand, that doesn't matter because I don't need a great sports watch. I probably use 15% of what the Garmin could do. But on the other hand, it does matter. And let's spend a moment on this because I expect probably most of you are going to be interested in using it as a sports watch. It is right now Massively frustrating, to be honest. There are third-party sports tracking apps out there. I use Work Outdoors that are absolutely amazing. You can set up a display to give all sorts of information presented really clearly. I've set up interval sessions in the gym where it will tell me through my earphones that I've got 10 seconds to go before I get off the row machine and start doing burpees. And then it will tell me when there's 10 seconds left of that before it says switch over to the treadmill. And you can basically turn it into your own private coach. Very exciting, genuinely fun to use. But annoyingly, a couple of stupidly simple but vital things are not made available when you use those third-party apps. For example, the screen does not remain illuminated during your workout, and twisting your wrist for an update on the time means a short delay before anything happens. Also, the action button can't be programmed to start and stop the activity on that app, so you have to resort to sort of pressing and holding and swiping to select things. With the Fenix, it just became almost subconscious that I would hit the stop button at the finish line no matter what state I was in. Now, you can use the standard Apple workout app, and I do use that for things like high rocks, where being able to stop and start lap times with ease is crucial. But the main benefit of the watch is that you can find third-party developers that have created clever stuff. So when that stuff doesn't take advantage of things the watch can do, you feel a bit shortchanged. My hope is that situation improves over time with updates. Right now, I'm not enjoying my overall sports watch experience with it. It does the job, but just. So if this sounds like a bunch of things that I wasn't happy with on day one and now I'm at best tolerant of, what is in its favour that means I'm keeping it? It's a phone. So number one, by far the biggest one for me, it can replace my actual phone a lot of the time. I have a Max Pro thing with a quad lock case on it for attaching to the motorbike. It's a lump of a phone, and I used to have to chuck it into a running vest if I wanted music or podcasts out on a run or even a dog walk. Now, I just grab my earpods and go. And people will say, well, you can download music onto the Garmin. Yes, you can, but it's not the simple experience of streaming whatever you want when you want. All my iTunes, my Amazon stuff, podcasts, whatever. And on top of that, it is a phone. So I can take a call or make a call, check a text, reply, all via Siri. It just makes leaving the phone behind an option. And not just when exercising. If I pop to the shops, I grab my car keys and go. I've got my phone, I've got my credit card for payment, all with me. I don't need any other Apple device. Now, if you're someone that likes to go out and leave technology behind, that's great. But I've got a wife and kids and dogs and a job, all of which occasionally need to get hold of me. If I'm out for an hour or two on the bike or a run, I like knowing they can. It's an Apple. And so having said it allows me to not always need another Apple device with me, it plays brilliantly with them when I want it to. If I sit down here to use a computer, I don't need passwords or fingerprints. It senses the watch is here and it unlocks the screen for me. If I start playing music on the phone but then want to skip a track or adjust volume, the watch can do it all. There are just so many times throughout the day where it lets me do something I would have previously done on the phone or the computer. So sitting on the sofa in the evening, a text or a reminder pops up on here, I can reply with one tap and it's done. A huge improvement over needing to open up my phone. In fact, I no longer have my phone near me in the evenings when I'm watching TV and stuff because of this. So I've reduced the amount of time I spend on that pointlessly scrolling through Facebook and Instagram. It's literally saving me time. It's not too big. It is a good size for all-day use. The Garmin had great 24/7 monitoring functions, but I never really used them because it was too big a lump to wear all the time, especially overnight. But not this. I only take it off to charge it. So my health data, heart rate variability, sleep information, all that stuff is tracked by an app, and it becomes really quite useful given it's now a true reflection of my entire day. I've had Whoop straps and Aura rings and stuff with their ridiculous subscription charger models. I don't use them anymore. And lastly, and this is important if you've watched any of my other videos and are now thinking, how on earth can you not wear the Garmin that you said you loved so much? So I am just in a different place with my fitness now. One of the first things I did when I started to exercise years ago was I went and bought an expensive sports watch, because when I put it on, I was able to think, well, now this part of me is sporty, I just need the rest to catch up. So when I was staggering around a park run, I felt slightly less embarrassed about how slow I was, because my watch, at least, was capable of an ultramarathon. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't need to make sense. It needs to make me go and do a park run, and it did. Occasionally, other people would spot it and say, oh, you work out? And I'd say, yes, I do. And it would motivate me to have one less burger that day. In short, the right watch, the right trainers even, the gear I would wear, I wanted all that stuff to be things that led me to where I wanted to be. A lot of people call that all the gear, no idea. I call it start as you mean to go on. And it worked. To some, it might make as much sense as a 21-year-old kid spending all their savings on a fancy briefcase for their first day at work to carry their sandwich and a couple of pens. But it made me feel good about what I was doing. I felt the part. But now I am not staggering around park runs anymore. And in the same way that once I was successful at work, and so no longer needed that ridiculous briefcase to feel like I belonged, and it wasn't just sandwiches, there was chocolate and crisp and all sorts. I don't need my watch to make me feel like I'm someone that does exercise. I just have enough confidence in my ability, whatever I'm wearing. And so all I need the watch to do for sports is what I need it to do. Time how long something takes me, record my heart rate, how fast am I going, and this does it fine. In addition, the sports I'm doing now have changed too. It used to be that all I did was run, and so tracking and keeping a history of exactly how far, how fast, what pace, that was important to me. But now I could be rowing on a Monday, running on a Tuesday, cycle on a Wednesday, cross training on a Thursday, speed walking on a Friday, probably not speed walking. I don't need to accrue lots of interesting historical data showing progression, because my training now is just much more about sort of bouncing between one thing and another and making sure I'm really just ready for anything and having fun, rather than pursuing one activity and constantly looking to improve on it. Interestingly, Jen, who is at the early part of her fitness journey, is keeping her Garmin and ditching the Apple Watch. And she loves all the things about the Garmin that I loved when I started. So tracking that activity data, seeing the progression in her running times, and feeling like it makes her look the part. I should add, that doesn't mean a Garmin Fenix is obviously for somebody who is new to exercise only. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of people, right up to elite athletes, for whom tracking things the way a Fenix is great at is exactly what they need. In fact, Garmin would, I'm sure, say that it's designed for those people, more than it was ever designed for some lump to jog around his local park, faking it till he made it. But I guess my own journey has just plateaued in a way that means the Apple is now sufficient, and given the other stuff it can do that I'm loving, I will tolerate sufficient. But that is just me. And I should add, despite the humorous thumbnail for this video, the Garmin is not for sale, because I'm keeping it to wear on the 1 or 2 ultra marathons that I run each year until I'm 100% convinced that the Apple is good enough to handle those. They are one of the few occasions where I need to have complete confidence in my watch to do the job. And when it comes to events lasting all day, I don't yet have that confidence in this. And so in summary, if you watched one of my older videos on the Garmin and you went and got yourself one, you probably did the right thing. I would still very happily recommend the Fenix as a brilliant sports watch for anybody interested in their exercise. And in contrast, I've got to be honest, I don't know who I'd recommend this for, apart from people that like coffee shops, avocados, and counting their steps. And me. Give the video a like, subscribe, follow me here and Jen here, and if you know what coding is, stick it in the comments. See you on the next one.